Solutions, and as Richard said, I'm a co-founder with my husband, and we are transforming HR in emerging markets. I'm happy to say that we're actually transforming HR right here in Davao. We have a couple of clients here, and what we've been able to do for them is we've been able to automate their whole timekeeping and payroll, from biometrics all the way down to payout. And yes, I think we have some clients wanting to talk to us over there. But you know, HR and payroll, these are very specific and niche problems and pain points that we're solving. But really, what Sprout is all about is our mission is to improve the lives of every Filipino by making businesses here in the Philippines a lot easier. So with that though, I really want to talk to you about 3 things today, not necessarily related to technology, but really life lessons, if you will, that has helped push me forward as a woman over the last few years. Please. So this is younger Alex, a lot more awkward looking Alex, and there are 2 things that I remember about this young girl growing up. The first is that, you know, I was always pretty responsible, even from a very young age as a kid. You know, I got good grades, I was president or vice president of my class, I was elected in the student council. Granted that I went through a whole grunge and rock and roll phase when I was in high school. I was probably somewhere there in a lot of concerts. And also granted that during university, I actually spent more time outside of the classroom than inside of the classroom. But through all of that, I remained very consistent and, you know, very conscientious. The second thing that I remember about Alex, about younger Alex, is that whenever I was asked, when do you want to get married or when do you want to settle down, I always answered, when I'm 67. You know, I know it's kind of comical and people are like, what? But, you know, when I was first asked it, that was the number that came out of my mouth. And since then, that's what I was, you know, always saying. And really, it was because at that point, the permanence of it all, marriage, forever, is kind of like stifling. And so those 2 things actually, first, a history of being conscientious from a very young age. Second, an extreme value for independence. These 2 things are great ingredients to make a full-on career woman, and that's what I became. Fresh out of university, actually, I joined an independent magazine publishing company as an editorial assistant, and quickly climbed the ranks. Within 2 months, I was promoted marketing supervisor, and then I handled the whole custom publishing division of the company. And then I was sales and marketing manager, where actually I really helped meet our targets, and because our numbers were so good, we were acquired by a newspaper giant, which was the Philippine Daily Inquirer. And then I actually became one of the youngest group publishers in the country. So, you know, it was a lot of crazy hard work, a lot of 60-hour weeks, a lot of intense stress, but that was my life, and I was loving it. You know, I was fulfilled. Until one day, I got a call from a doctor. So we did our annual physical examination in the office, and I got a call from a doctor, and so I came in, and she had explained to me that they had found pre-cancer changes in one of the tests that I took. And so she went through a very lengthy explanation of what the stages of cancer are and what are the treatments for each. And she told me not to worry, and that she had already set up an appointment with an oncologist. So this was a Friday. This happened on a Friday. The appointment was for a Tuesday. And at this point in my life, I was living alone. I was newly single. My family, all of my family had already moved to the US. And I had 4 full days to freak out. So, it was within one of those 4 days when it really became clear to me that I didn't need to be CEO of a company anymore. That wasn't what was important. What was important, I knew then, was that I wanted to be a mother. And so Tuesday came, I went to the doctor, did the biopsy. The results came back negative, but I was forever and ever changed. So I was thinking, my gosh, I kept on saying I wanted to get married at 67, and I was maybe 29 then, and it just became very clear to me. So very shortly after that, I decided to leave media. I turned in my resignation, which until today is still known as the longest resignation ever. I was asked to turn over for 6 months, and because I said I was conscientious, I did it. And then after that, I flew to a country where I actually didn't know a single soul. I couldn't speak a word of their language. They did speak English outside of the capital, and I lived there for 3 months. So I was in Turkey when my best friend actually got wind of the fact that there's an ex-Microsoft executive who was wanting to set up a software company here in the Philippines. And so he connected me with John Lauer, and John actually was reporting to Bill Gates in his Microsoft days and had set up 14 Microsoft offices this side of the world, and of all the countries that he's done business in, he chose the Philippines to set up his own. So it was in the caves of Cappadocia, where I had a 1-hour phone conversation with John, and he hired me right on the spot. So in the middle of nowhere, where there was no Wi-Fi, no internet, that's where software found me. Isn't that ironic? So over the next few years, I spent a lot of time on the ground, really building Superium, which is the name of the company that we had built, as an elite software shop in the Philippines. And in those early days, oh my goodness, like 6 out of the 10 words that people would tell me, I had no idea what they meant. So this is really how I felt. I mean, I had come from media. I knew that industry inside and out, and all of a sudden there are these men talking to me about jQuery and MVC and Entity Framework and Get Latest, and I was like, what are you talking about? And so it was very unnerving for me, but I listened, and I listened some more, and I really dug in deep and got my hands dirty and really learned. The more I immersed myself in it, the more I ended up loving it. So I did fall in love with software, and now I live and breathe it. So thankfully, I have grown up a lot, maybe a little bit. I've grown up a lot since these days. And what I want to share with you now are 3 things that have really shaped my current worldview. In the late 1960s, Gloria Steinem really popularized this statement. Some of us are becoming the men we wanted to marry. And it became almost a slogan for the feminist revolution. What's interesting is that over the years, that statement has actually evolved, and a lot of people started paraphrasing it or remembering it as this: become the man you want to marry. And there are really two ways to kind of look at this statement. The first way is to look at it from how it was originally intended, as an observation at the height of the revolution, that the sentiment then was really that women didn't necessarily need men and women didn't necessarily want men, because they were starting to take on these masculine responsibilities and they were becoming more wholly self-sufficient. The other way to look at it is like really more as a call to action, to look at it introspectively and really, so what are the qualities or the values that I want in a man? And do I see those qualities in myself? Do I actually live them out? Or are they just like concepts that I like throwing around? So say, for example, we say, it would be great if I found a man who was honest and acted with integrity and was also very fit, maintained a healthy lifestyle. Now the question is, do we live that way? Do we live that out in our everyday life? So become the man you want to marry. It's really like something that pushes you in the back and says, where are your values on your sleeve? A good example of this is, for me personally, I really find being a doer very attractive. I've always thought that I was a doer myself. I still am. I'm very quick to jump at the tasks and things that I really need to do. But through a lot of reflection, I realized that I wasn't as quick to jump at the things that I wanted to do. And so I started working on that. And then I actually met a guy who was awesome at doing the things that he wanted to do. I mean, he came to the Philippines in a backpack. He was meant to stay here for 2 months and then decided to never leave. Before he graduated from university, he took a year off and traveled around the world. When I met him, he had a full-time job, but he was training Muay Thai 5 times a week. And then 3 times a week, he actually used his lunch break to learn Spanish because he wanted to go to South America and do stuff there. In my head, I was like, oh my goodness, this is a guy who was really making his dreams come true every single day. And I was all the more inspired. Needless to say that guy is Gentry, and who is now my co-founder at Sprout Solutions and also my husband. Lesson number 2, defer to your husband. And I know I hear a lot of gasps sometimes when I say this, and it's really kind of controversial. And I've found that a lot of people have a hard time digesting it, most especially women who are strong and successful. I mean, I personally I did not understand this concept when I was single. And I still have a hard time, I still struggle with it in practice to this day. But if you think about it, really, coupled with lesson number 1, it makes absolute sense. Because if you actually did find a man whose core values you share and you respect enough to follow, then you're already aligned in all the big things, right? And the only thing that you're kind of arguing about and discussing are the details, are the small things, right? That makes sense? I know that it's kind of archaic, and sometimes when you hear that, you kind of have a mental picture of a submissive wallflower kind of wife. But I think that one of the really key things in a successful marriage is this decision-making policy. So when faced with an issue, normally, whoever feels more strongly about the topic generally takes it. So that's easy, right? If I feel super strongly about it and he's kind of ambivalent, then that's easy. But when faced with like an issue that you both feel super strongly about, then I know that I would need to defer to my husband, and that's not always easy, but that is a fact, and that is a key to a successful marriage. What we've found is that this also translates. Next slide, please. This also translates really well to our dynamic as co-founders. So tech is, being in a tech startup is crazy. Being in a startup by nature is really fast-paced, and there's so many moving parts. Big decisions have to be made every single day. Our company last year, January last year, we had 12 people all in all, and this time, in January of 2017, actually, we were at 65 employees. So, it's super fast-paced, and having that clarity between us, even though we have our own areas in the business that we really focus in, like Patrick focuses on sales, marketing, and customer success, and I really focus more on product. But having that clarity makes things a lot easier. Okay, lesson number 3. Okay, so lesson number 3, actually, so everything, maybe a little bit more, I think. Oh, we lost a couple of photos there, but maybe just back. Okay, that's fine. I think we lost a couple of photos here, but everything really changed for me when I became a mom, as I'm sure, it happens with a lot of women. We actually really took the whole pregnancy and birthing and early parenthood very, very seriously. We kind of like geeked out and, just really went hardcore. Like we actually did a natural birth for both of our children. So what Sheila was saying earlier, she gave birth in a car. I actually gave birth to our second one standing up. Boom! So zero drugs, zero epidural, and zero anesthesia. Patrick was supporting me in that. But yeah, so we were all about that. We were all about natural birthing. After that. Nice. No, I applaud that. Super. We actually also did the continuum concept, which is kind of a tribal way of raising infants. So it involves having the infant in arms or in a sling 24/7 for the first 6 months of their lives. We did that for both of our kids, so that's no strollers, no cribs. It was really all in arms and on-demand nursing, co-sleeping. So really the guilt of being a working mom was so real and so strong and so palpable for me. I still struggle with it a lot, but I actually came across a study wherein Harvard researchers found that working mothers have more successful daughters and conscientious sons. So they did this, I don't know how many years that they studied it, but they basically followed kids of working moms and kids of stay-at-home moms, and this is what they found out. And I'll repeat this. Working mothers have more successful daughters and conscientious sons. Next, please. So what they found is that daughters of working mothers earn 23% more than those of stay-at-home moms, and then sons spend 7.5 more hours a week on childcare. So sons, when they actually became fathers, spent 7.5 more hours in a week on childcare and 25% more minutes on housework. I have a daughter, and I obviously want to model a successful and independent woman to her, because I want her to be empowered when she's older. And if it's true that the second phase of the gender revolution is not about changing women at all, it's about changing men. It's about I like that. But it is, right? That's what they say. The second phase of the gender revolution is about making it so that the responsibilities of the home, so that's maintaining a home, and the responsibilities of child rearing is equally shared between men and women. That is the second phase. And if that is true, then sons of working moms are this much closer to that. Isn't that amazing? So, I actually have had so much fun reinventing and inventing and reinventing myself over the last 3 decades, and I've had so much fun discovering and rediscovering what it is to be a woman. And to all the young ladies out here, I encourage you to explore that and do it introspectively. Because your image of yourself as a woman is not static, it's always evolving. And that is a beautiful process. Next one. For sure, my most favorite sentence in the world is this: we are all in the process of becoming. And I leave that with you today. Thank you.